Sierra Blake is a practicing psychotherapist with a graduate background in mental health psychology from the University of Minnesota. Her clinical work focuses on trauma, addiction medicine, and helping individuals build greater awareness of the connection between mind and body. Sierra has also explored the physiological effects of sauna and cold water immersion, particularly in relations to substance use disorder. Her work brings together emerging research, traditional sauna practices, and relational psychology to examine how heat, cold, ritual, and shared experience may support mental well-being. She is especially interested in sauna as a space for mindfulness, and that's where she and I really connect. So she came up to Sauna Days, and we were able to sit down and present to you this Sauna Talk episode, where belonging and community connection are really important pillars and the broader potential to become part of a healthier social infrastructure. So a couple other points to this, heat and cold create manageable stress, followed by calming the nervous system response that can support openness, awareness, and connection, and how across culture, sauna has long functioned as a place for ritual, reflection, healing, storytelling, and community. The larger opportunity is to see sauna not as an occasional luxury, but as part of everyday community health and social infrastructure. So my main takeaway here is that sauna's deepest value may lie not only in what the heat does to the body, but in more like in how shared sauna experiences can create belonging and strengthen relationships and build healthier communities. So with that, I'm super excited to introduce to you, to Sauna Talk listeners, Sierra Blake, live and direct from Sauna Days in May 2026 on the shores of Lake Superior. A funny story. The Sauna Times Substack came about around 2018, 2019 maybe, when my MailChimp list outgrew the free plan. And the last thing I wanted with a side gig was another monthly cost just to send out a newsletter once in a while. So somewhere along the way, I stumbled onto Substack, and I'm pretty sure it was from Seth Godin or Derek Sivers. Whoever it was, I owe them a beer between sauna rounds because I've been at it ever since. I publish monthly and what I call anchor reporting, a clean, once-a-month summary of all the shenanigans happening in my sauna life and across the wider ecosystem. And that includes building and design insights, guest posts from like-minded thermal enthusiasts, sauna events and field reports, reflections on sauna culture. We have the sauna circuits that are launching at least one, if not two a month. Practical takeaways you can actually use with all of this stuff. It's drawn from decades of building, bathing, observing, and paying attention to this thing we all share that's certainly older than most all of us combined, probably. So if you subscribe, that's what you'll get. And if you want to go deeper, there's a paid option where I share more in-depth writing, behind-the-scenes insights, and where Sauna Times is headed. You can find it at saunatimes.substack.com. If sauna means something to you, you'll feel right at home there. So Sierra, how are you doing?
I'm good.
How many rounds have you had today?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. How about you?
Well, it's a funny thing. I'm dressed for sauna. I'm like, it was a great line. I think Jen was saying, conference, presentation, sauna, and I'm in that dead zone right now. It's like, I want to introduce you and go do another round.
Nice.
Do you mind?
Yeah, no.
because the beautiful thing is that we're capturing this presentation, and thanks for being a part of Sauna Days. And so I'm going to catch you as a Sauna Talk.
Awesome.
At a future time.
Awesome.
So thanks for coming. And when did you arrive? And tell us your initial feelings of being up here.
I got here on Friday. So lovely, relaxed, beautiful. We were just saying we couldn't have asked for a better weekend day. Yeah, lovely to be up here to celebrate the beginning of spring. Really feels like, yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Glenn. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Sierra. I know some of you I don't know. Lovely to meet you. Why is that happening? We're unsure. Later. How about that? Sure. So a little background on me is that I went to graduate school at the University of Minnesota for mental health psychology. So I'm a practicing psychotherapist. I work with individuals a lot with trauma and addiction medicine. Previous to that, while I was in grad school, I designed and led a research study on the psychological impact of sauna and cold water immersion on individuals with substance use disorder. And due to many, many factors, the study never came to fruition, but I kept all of the knowledge that I gained through that experience. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that today with you. We're also going to talk about some of the new and emerging science that's coming out in the psychological field. If you were in with Bill earlier, he mentioned the mental health benefits, and there's some exciting developments that are happening in that realm, which I'm going to share with you today. And then we're going to take kind of a broader look at sauna's impact on a community level and then a societal level as well. So we're going to get into it a little bit today. Before dinner. And so yeah, let's get started. So that's me. I always like to begin with this quote. It's by Dr. Langer, who is a psychologist at Harvard. And she said, "We simply don't know, which is why scientific research is an almost constant search for better truths and not the truth." So I like to start with that to set the stage for there is some kind of the magic of the unknown, right? We don't know. And these are some of the things that we're figuring out, and there's an opportunity, right? So some of the things we do know, let's start there. So we all have an autonomic nervous system. Is anybody familiar with the parasympathetic or sympathetic nervous system? We've likely all heard about these, right? So I like to get into this a little bit, talk about, we're very interested in what's happening on a physiological, biological level in our bodies when we're in the sauna, right? And so what we do know is that your heart rate increases. Heart rate variability is very often used to measure sympathetic response. Your sympathetic response in your nervous system is your fight or flight response. So it sounds big and scary, but it's not. We need it, right? We need it. Your heart races, your lungs breathe in more oxygen, you sweat easier, right? Your body's sort of reacting to the what we call hormetic stress or even positive stress that it's under in this environment, right? And then because our body likes to seek homeostasis, when we leave the stress of the heat, it pulls itself back into this more parasympathetic rest and digest state. This can invite feelings of sociability, curiosity, openness, right? So some people talk about this kind of pro-social feeling that they have. This is one potential explanation of why that might be. There are about a million other ones as well. So I like to talk about that a little bit. The cold is also activating, right? You might notice when you sink into the cold, you go, ah, and your body goes, ah, and you're kind of freaked out, and then if you're able to kind of breathe into it and settle, your heart rate will slow down, right? Glenn talked about that a little bit earlier, how he loves that feeling of like, I can feel my heartbeat slow down, and you get a nice like body feeling from it, right? So, mental health in the sauna. Research is still emerging about this. However, as we all know, the sauna has been around for thousands of years in so many different cultures across the globe before the scientific method existed. Love research, okay? We need it. But there is some like deep ancestral knowledge that exists as well. So, for example, indigenous sweat lodges are used in, connection with spirituality, processing grief, trauma, in the treatment of addiction. The Turkish hammam is deeply tied to religion and community. It's a transition space, right, for the people that live in that area. The Russian banya is very ritual heavy, right? The Venik, which maybe some of you guys have been enjoying this weekend. There's storytelling and bonding that happens in there, right? Lithuanian pirtis, one of my favorites, unsung hero maybe. A lot of body scrubs and rubbing honey on the skin. It's seen as like a physical, mental, and spiritual purification space. And it's all something that is done in community in all of these cultures. So it's something that's done with other people, which makes it this special space, right? So recently, about a month ago, I would say, this study came out of the UK, the University of Greenwich. Dr. Martha Newson published a study on the science of ritual. And they found that regular sauna use, at least one time per week, improved both mental well-being and physical health for people. Not because of the heat, but because of a sense of belonging that was experienced by the people who were doing this. This was a large sample. It was 1,900 people. It was very diverse, men, women. Yeah, 1 second. We'll do questions. Is that okay? We'll do questions in a little bit. Yeah, so the key mechanism was a sense of belonging, right? We know that we have a loneliness epidemic. We know this, okay? We read it in every headline for the last however many years. And we know that loneliness is akin to smoking half a pack of cigarettes a day, right? The feeling of loneliness has higher risk for cardiovascular illnesses, right? Our mental and physical health are not separated from each other. They're one system, right? There's this, he's a neuroscientist out of Portugal, and he said there's no such thing as a disembodied mind. The brain is implanted in the body, and it is all of itself, right? And so when we think about the physical mechanisms that are happening to us when we're in the heat, when we're in the cold, the lost thread maybe is this relational psychology that's happening, right? Between us, and how that impacts us in both ways. Okay, did you have a question? Let's pause.
It was just mostly around, like, in that study, was that individuals by themselves in the sauna or in group sessions?
It was in group sessions. So they studied 2 Showaufguss, actually, sessions, and then 1 like therapeutic session, which was more, calm, sort of Showaufguss. If you've seen a Showaufguss, is like, we are excited. This is fun. It's sort of wow factor. And then they studied therapeutic session, which was more kind of calm, fanning, oils, things like this. So their hypotheses, they had 3 hypotheses. They actually did 3 studies in one. But they had 3 hypotheses. The first one was that sauna use is associated with better well-being. Keep it simple, keep it straightforward. Hypothesis 2 is that positive well-being, the positive well-being effect of sauna use is partially explained by the social connections of the sauna experience. And hypothesis 3 was ritualized sauna experiences boost well-being and explain the effect of fusion or belonging or closeness that people are experiencing. All of these were proven to be correct in their study. How the mechanism, why, right? Why was it proven correct? What they found was 3 things, basically. Emotional synchrony, which is the sense that you're feeling the same way as the person next to you, right? they found high levels of this, which mediated or affected the feelings of belonging that people had. It was also interesting that the shared challenge of the experience is inherently binding of people. So if anyone watches reality TV, you may know that when they send people on a first date, they'll send them to go skydiving or whitewater rafting or doing these kinds of like crazy things that get your adrenaline pumping. There's a psychological reason for that. It binds people, it bonds them. So the friction, the sitting in the sauna is not the same as skydiving, but there is a challenge in it, right? So this shared difficulty was binding for people. And these factors led to increased feelings of belonging within the group, which then led to improved mental well-being and physical well-being, which I thought was fascinating. So this is a quote from one of the researchers, Rachel. She said that what we see in shared ritualized sauna experiences and in our data is that people feel connected to their bodies and to each other, and that this connection boosts well-being. Rather than positioning sauna as a quick fix or something to be optimized through individual protocols, this work lays a foundation for understanding how communal sauna rituals might support well-being at scale. So, this is a model I created. They're concentric circles. Can you see it okay? I don't know, it's kind of, no. I'll dig into it a little bit more. But, so at the center is the individual, right? This is improved physical health, improved mental health for the individual. Sort of intersecting with the individual circle and the communal circle is improved community relationships and a sense of belonging. So it intersects the individual to the wider community that it's experiencing sauna with, your sauna gym, your out there right now, wherever it is that you do it with other people. And then it broadens out into the communal. So a lot of saunas exist in communities, right? They're brick and mortar businesses, or they sit in the place where they are put, and people gather around them. And then the societal is the third ring, which is the broader, state, country, whatever it may be, world, question mark, just saying. And I'll dig into this a little bit more. So, for the individual, the physiology and all of that research is very compelling. And I'm excited to learn more and see where it leads. However, you can't cut the head off at the neck, right? We exist not only in our bodies, but also in our minds as well. The mind and body are one system, and they have a bi-directional relationship of influence on the other one. If you think about blushing when you feel embarrassed, getting an upset tummy when you feel nervous, or even your pupils dilate when you look at someone you think is cute, right? Our body responds to how we're feeling. And isn't that fun that we do that? It's just like, it's so cute that it's just like sweet that we do that. So, but it's like, it's just, I'm illustrating this point of, we don't only exist here or here, right? We are all of these things. The communal, so, loose ties is a concept, is a sociological concept, and it speaks to the kind of casual relationships you may have with people whose names you don't even know, right? Maybe this is your gas station clerk, this is your mailman, this is the people that you see in your community that you have a kind of, hey, what's up, man, type of relationship with. And the sauna, in my opinion, is an incredible generator of these kinds of ties, right? I go to my sauna gym and I see the same, lady every Tuesday night, and I know she just bought a house, and I'm like, how is that? She's good, it's good. We have a little chit chat. What this does in a bigger way, right, over time, sustained, is it integrates people into the place where they are, right? the self becomes a part of the world that it lives in, you know? I'm like, oh my gosh, where is that lady? I was wondering about what she ended up doing with her garden. You know, we broaden our social networks even if we're not best friends with all of these people. Third spaces, lots of discourse around this right now. But, you know, Robert Putnam, he's a political scientist, wrote Bowling Alone in the year 2000, and he wrote about the decline of third spaces in the United States.
Is that the join or die guy? The guy who made it, it's like you gotta join a club. So
Yes. He's a little controversial. And he has some interesting takes, but he has some... I have a few critiques of Robert Putnam, but his framework is super interesting, especially now, because yes, they declined, lots of reasons for that, but there is a fragmentation that happened, especially after COVID, right? There's a fragmentation that happened because we all went through that, and then coming out of that, it's interesting how this is timed, right? We're only 5 years out, or 6, or whatever it is, I don't know. But yeah, lots of discussion about how sauna or these gyms or something can be part of these third spaces or places that is not work and not home, right? A lot of people were working. Yes. I got to the point finally, yeah. But yeah.
I didn't quite.
Third spaces are places that people can go that are not work or home. So this may be your bowling league, or per Putnam, which doesn't exist anymore. It may be your book club. It may be your group chat. You know, it may be your whatever the case may be, your park. So that kind of idea. Emotional synchrony, that the feeling that you're sharing the same emotion as a person next to you. We see this at scale at places like concerts or sporting events. So everybody's like, yeah, and that's fun and exciting. Or you're watching a beautiful concert and everyone around you is like crying. You know, like what? It's just like, it's inherently, you feel close, right? Bridging Social Capital, Putnam, talks about social connections that move across race, ethnicity, class, gender, which are the hardest kinds of social connections to create. Because we tend to group up in places where we are similar to others. It just happens like that. So I propose that sauna is a equalizer, could be in this sense. You find yourself next to people whose life is nothing like your life, and you're like, hey, oh, you're a firefighter, I work in tech, what? You know, like, well, let's talk about that. And then place-based ritual, which is psychologically, it's very protective to have, you know, predictable rhythms of your life, right? So if we move sauna away from a luxury into a daily or weekly practice, and it's where I go every Thursday, every Friday, and it's just what I do, right? These types of rhythms can be very protective for mental and physical health. The societal, okay, the outermost ring. The question becomes then not what does the sauna do for the individual, but what does it do for the community, okay? So there are already social prescribing practices in Canada and the United Kingdom. They're gathering data on this now. It's not that. There's just a TV spot in the UK about should the NHS cover sauna, like a few days ago. So it's super new, but it's gaining a lot of traction over there, which is really fascinating. And it doesn't really exist here in the same way. But they're prescribing it to folks who may be struggling with loneliness, sadness, anxiety, depression, things like that. Getting them out and connected to the community is the purpose, right? And health as infrastructure. So what does it say about a society that has health at the center of it, right? We look at Finland, Japan, Turkey, Lithuania, Russia. Health is a part of the infrastructure. It is not an individual endeavor, but it's part of how the community and the wider society lives together in that whole entire country, right? So that's the opportunity I think that the U.S. has now. I'm not in charge of that, but I think that we have an opportunity with bathhouses springing up on every single corner to think about this in a really intentional way of it's fun to do, I like it, and I've met some cool people, okay, awesome, check, great, and then integration into daily, weekly life becomes a determinant of health over time. So there's lots of people who say Finland's the happiest country in the world, it's the saunas. I'm yeah, maybe, honestly, we don't know. But what they have is health as infrastructure. What they have is specific time that they spend together. They have a lot of other things as well, so that is important to note. But it is just a question to consider, I think, of what does it say about a society that places importance on that and brings it up to the forefront. So that is all from me. But thank you all so much. We can have a couple questions if there are any questions. Or comments? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
But I'm just curious how you're, I lost my train of thought thinking about this, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
The rituals, I am fascinated. Let me say the neuroscience. So I've left Catholicism, and I all of a sudden my sister stayed with Catholicism. The point being, I miss the rituals. I'm an atheist, right?
Yeah.
So, but I still visit Christmas, but I don't celebrate. So rituals is a neuroscience, or how it fulfills a life.
Yes.
How do you see the rituals in terms of neuroscience and what it does to your brain in that regard?
Well, I'm not a neuroscientist.
I know.
Okay, but someone up here shared a beautiful story, Dr. Arnie, if anyone was in with the docs this morning, about a man who he saw as his physician, and his wife, I think, died by suicide, and he was grief-stricken. Understandably so. And they were talking and tried some antidepressants and stuff like that. Didn't help, didn't like that. And he ended up giving him some tobacco and said, every morning, put this out. When the sun rises, put this out and start your day with this small ritual, right? And Dr. Arnie shared the story that this was the only thing that seemed to bring him through and out of this, right? And I don't say this to sound sort of, I don't know, magical or something like that, but there is something about these shared rhythms of things that we do together. It's why we have funerals. It's why we have weddings. It's why we do these things that mark these moments in life, right? They're orienting, they're comforting, they're bonding. And there is something about that, the sauna that, in that data, that's scientific data, it's not, from a university, that was oh, these rituals are bringing people together, which is something we all feel and know, but to have it kind of, quantified as such, maybe it gives it more legitimacy. But yeah, they're orienting, they're Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, so to kind of riff on that a little bit too, there is, I'm thinking in terms of what you said, there's no such thing as a disembodied mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that almost plays out on a communal level too, where a ritual helps us connect to this larger, like I'm not an island in and of myself, I'm part of a community.
Yeah.
So I guess the question part of that is, where is the difference between, say, like a routine and a ritual?
Yeah. Yeah. To me,
I feel like the intention that you put behind it. The meaning. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
becomes sacred?
meaning, I would say meaning, I wanted to say kind of specialness. It's a routine that I, maybe the bridge here is mindfulness. I don't know, between the two, I'm just spitballing here, but thinking about what you're saying, right? Maybe the bridge is mindfulness, because it could be part of my routine that I brush my teeth, but if I really start to think about it and or something, then does it become, I don't know, but maybe the intention, right? What does it mean to you? What are you trying to do here? Kind of thing like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and tying to that, is the ritual in going to sauna, on a regular basis, or is it certain things that we do in the sauna?
Sure.
That is part of the ritual.
Yeah.
Is there this practice that the things that we're doing are very sort of ritualistic?
Yeah.
The fire and the heat and the stones and the water, I don't know, just these actions that we do.
Yes.
Is that part of the ritual?
Yeah, well, yeah. So in the data or in the study, they looked at the ritual itself, right? The show Aufguss, and then the therapeutic ritual, which was the more calm one, like I mentioned. And so that it was the inside of the sauna as container of what was happening in.
Yeah.
But as an individual, cultivating those on your own is possible.
Totally.
Right, yeah.
But also, when you speak about container, and we think about ritual, we think about, the church, the sauna, these spaces that are we find to be super safe. Right?
Yeah.
It's interesting, just this coming up, I was talking with Jenna before we came in here around, I had gone to the grocery store at lunch, and it was this palpable feeling of leaving the container that was this, and I haven't met everybody, this is my first time here, but it was this interesting, we are in a ritual space together as we move through these saunas and yeah.
We left it and it was so, wild.
It was
oh my God.
Yeah. There's an energy, these sort of more ineffable or intangible things, totally. Yeah.
So code of conduct or ritual, when we talk about the sauna and the behaviors, I was once at a social sauna and it was mellow people, lots of space in between conversations, and a party bus came in.
Oh.
And the party bus culture of lots of laughter, lots of things, they were a little drunk.
Yeah.
Whoa, this is not the code of conduct.
Sure.
I mean, they don't sauna, this was a novelty for them.
Yeah,
But,
totally.
I met a man who always has an image of Sauna Tantu, the elf that is finished. He says, actually, I take this serious because little kids, when they see Sauna Tantu and they say he encourages calm conversation and paced behavior and no loud noises, or he'll trip you on the way home and you won't get safely. But again, ritual and folklore and stuff lead to a state.
Yes, lead to culture, lead to etiquette, lead to standards,
it's
lead
the way
to.
we tell our stories so they stick.
Yes, I like the
It's
cute.
that emotional synchronicity. That you
Yes, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Did they talk about frequency?
Yeah, they said even one time per week. One time per week better for the physical health benefits in this study. But even once per month was found to be beneficial for mental well-being. Yeah, but it was 1 time per week, kind of shook out to be the great equalizer, or the stronger of the two. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea about the setting and to what extent that kind of applies to us in the United States? Could there be any differences, or can we directly assume that the sauna culture and the way people sauna in the UK is similar
I
to
know.
how we do it?
Yeah, yes, great question. I was talking with Rachel recently, and I was like, hey, it sounds like it's time for a US-based study, because culturally we show up different, right? They're pretty comparable, but culturally people show up differently, different expectations. Becky Pelkonen out of Canada, PhD student, talked to her about cultural priming. So the beliefs you come into the experience with shape it, which is also something we talk about in psychology too, of the implementation of hope. Will this work for me? Will this make me feel better? And so, definite, cultural differences for sure. I always caution against generalizability and kind of in every sense, right? But yeah, it's I don't know. I would love to do it. Maybe you should do it. Let's talk. Hey, let's talk. Yeah.
When we do studies and stuff, and we use the word like belonging, obviously that's getting measured subjectively, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how does a study come up with like that as a concluding word?
Such a good question. In all of, mental health psychology research is so hard to do because everything is self-report. So we can't scan somebody's brain and be like, you're depressed in this way and this is how we're going to fix it. We can't take their blood and say you have anxiety. They tell us what their symptoms are, how they're experiencing, what is going on for them, and that's how we, collect data as well. How are you feeling? The exact measures they used, I'm not remembering right now, but there are so many, like profile of mood states, how did you feel about it? There's qualitative ways to get this information where you look for patterns in how people are reporting how they're feeling, basically. And so if, 700 people all use the word belonging or connected, or maybe they would, you could extrapolate from there. But yeah, psychological research different than, doing research on like broken bones or something, because it's just more, the waters are murkier, our psyche is not so, easy to grasp like that. Totally. Yeah.
Do you know if there's been any research or conversation about like an amplifier effect when it's like company, when it's gender, LGBTQ, when it's already sort of a group of belonging, a shared identity, like in Finland and in much of Europe, right? The saunas are gender separated, and you're usually nude, so there's this level of vulnerability and also like gender company.
Yes.
And we run a commercial sauna in Portland, and we have company hours, and we have found just anecdotally people's feelings about those gatherings to be so profound and so connective. And,
I love that.
And it's like, it goes beyond belonging to like bonding.
Yes.
Right, and so I'm just wondering, is there anybody that's looking into that, the idea of sauna, and there's this, I don't know how you phrased it, with like the difficult experiences, like going through something difficult together, but then when you already identify with the lived experience of someone that you're with. I know in the UK they do, specific nights for African American population.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? And so I'm just wondering, that like company and the sauna, is there an amplifier? Is anyone looking into that?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's looking into that, but it would be fascinating. But yes, there are lots of, I've been to saunas all over, and they'll have like women's night or BIPOC or whatever it is, right? So it'll be like certain groups that can make it a little bit more inviting, less intimidating, especially if maybe it's your first time or you're just kind of curious, you want to try it out. But yeah, I mean, I don't know of any studies on it currently, but I would imagine that what you're observing, I mean, is true. Like, you're observing it, and that it has weight for sure. Yeah. Good question. Yeah, thank you.
Somebody's got to do the study.
Somebody's got to do it. Hey, there's a lot of people in this room, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I was just gonna comment on that. So I'm the founder of Sauna and Sobriety, and the whole reason I founded it was because I saw a need in the sober community to invite them in. And I would say, hell yes, lived experience, like, letting people know this is a safe space, setting that tone that everyone's kind of coming to it with that experience. And then we had a whole cross-section of different people, like the diversity you were talking about is just inherent in that, and it's so cool to see. People just know it's a safe space to come back.
Yeah, so they're bonded by lived experience. Yeah, exactly. So there's something shared there that, I mean, there's lots of studies on AA and stuff like that where that is a part of why that works. There's an understanding of the other that comes without having to say anything, which is sort of like a balm, Yeah. Oh, there's someone. Oh, Eden.
I wanted to reflect a little bit more on just that difference. Like, I love that question earlier about the difference between routine and ritual. And as I'm sitting here, it's like the feeling of course, like routine can provide structure and consistency in our lives, but sometimes it can be monotonous. And the idea that we can actually, like, the difference is, like, in ritual, we're becoming present, we're becoming embodied, like the activation of senses, right? Where in the sauna, if you're using oils, there's a smell, feeling the temperature on your skin. I love to do sound in the sauna, really all of those pieces that activate full presence and full embodiment. And then I love the idea that we can, like, ritualize our routine. It's like, okay, a routine could be doing the same thing at the gym every time, or I pick up my kid from school at this time, but how do I become, like, more present and embodied while picking my kid up from school at this time, and those are just things that are firing in my brain as we're having this discussion. So I wanted to circle us back to that, because I think that we can ritualize routine, and I'm also not a neuroscientist, but I imagine that coming off of autopilot and needing to, like, actually be with what's in front of you is beneficial for the brain.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, Eden. Thank you so much. When people ask me often, like, what's the best way for me to sauna, and I'm like, I have absolutely no idea. And anybody who says that they do, they don't. And best for what? I don't know. Like, there's so many questions that I have to follow up with about that. But the thing that I come back to is this mindfulness, right? And I'm not walking around all day thinking about how I feel in my brain and my body and, like, what's going on. I'm just trying to do stuff, okay? I got papers to look at and calls to make, I don't even know. And then there is a pause, or it's an invitation, like Eden was saying, like, to be in that present moment. And the sauna kind of gives us that by its just way of being. It just sort of invites that. If you'd like to engage in it, up to you, Was there one more? Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of follows up on that. Do you think, so is it rituals, they kind of just happen with an individual, or let's say somebody's new to the sauna and they want to improve their health, and the power of rituals, do they need to be given a little crash course, right? Bring your oil, or hang out with people, or how do we kind of use that as a tool?
Introduce,
I don't know. What's your opinion?
Yeah, well, as a kind of way to introduce, I mean, I always say, there's something called interoception. It's it's what we call our sixth sense. It's the awareness of what's going on inside of your body. It is, my jaw is tight, my muscles are sore, am I hot, am I cold? We talk about it a lot in psychology with people who are neurodivergent because they have a really difficult time sometimes noticing that. But everybody has that sense. And we don't often pay attention to it. And so, you know, that's kind of what I share as like the entry point. It's like, this is a space where you can just be like, you know, I'm doing a little gua sha maybe, I don't know what I'm doing, and how does it feel? How does it feel? When I lead like sauna rituals, I talk about that a lot. I say, pay attention to how you're feeling. If you're too hot, get out, listen to yourself more than you listen to me. And like, just, it's this kind of turning inward opportunity to do that, right? It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't need to like get, I don't know, all the bells and whistles of stuff to make it this really big thing, but it can just be this moment of like, oh yeah, my shoulder was hurting, I did sleep on it weird last night, or, you know, whatever it is, like, or I'm chatting with this person next to me and that was kind of nice, or things like this, like, you know, it's approachable. It can be, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, to kind of answer, riff on that a little bit too, and tie a few threads together about like, when does routine become ritual? Maybe there is that, my routine is I'm going to go to this thing on a regular basis, but over time, now I'm with the same amount of people, the same group of people. We have our things that we do, and tie in the Catholic example. You know, if I were to say to you, like, you know, peace be with you, you respond with, and also with you, right? You know, there's that give and take, because you kind of know what that ritual is because you've done it a bunch of times. And so maybe that's when it starts crossing over from that routine. When you have that, like, you know, again, going back to the emotional synchronicity.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's a great thought. Yeah, I love that. Any other questions?
What are you interested in doing next? Like looking into next? Like you've been looking into this?
I just like to look into things professionally. I just like to look around, look at stuff.
What's going on?
Just see what's going on around town. Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm really fascinated. There's some kind of models that are popping up, either that is like more of a nonprofit sauna type of model, and or that it's moving into this like medical space in the sense of social prescribing. That's happening in Canada and the UK. And I was chatting with some of the docs earlier, and I'm like, we've got to get insurance to cover this, you know, we've got to do. And I mean, that's, I don't know, but we're dreaming big. Hey, we're dreaming big, because that was once crazy for massage and acupuncture too. So, you know, and so I was talking to Jeremiah about that, and, you know, I think we're not there. That's why research is important in the Western medical model, because we need it to show efficacy for a practice so that insurance will cover it. And so if that's the desire, right, if we're thinking health as infrastructure, if we're thinking long term here and big, then, you know, I'd love to kind of see what's up with that, because, yeah, and I don't know. So that's big, but, and would take a lot of people for sure, but I think it would be great. Yeah.
You can put your HSA dollars towards a sauna.
Yes, you can. You can put your HSA or FSA dollars towards building one, and you can use them at certain studios for memberships. But in that sense, you would need an HSA or an FSA. And I will say that most of the folks that I see do not have that. And it's also been found across many studies that the people who benefit the most from this practice are the most vulnerable. Yeah, so wouldn't that be cool? But, so we're working hard, you know,
So it's really not insurance, it's Medicare. I mean, it's Medicaid.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, or any type. I mean, really, yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's a whole lot. That's a world I don't know a ton about it. I don't know a ton about it, but wouldn't it be great, right? If like, I think about my patients. I have patients that are either significantly depressed, for instance, and very difficult for them to leave their houses. And very isolated, right? With mental health struggle often comes isolation, whether it's depression, anxiety, anything, SPMI, more severe and persistent mental illness. Isolation is a really big piece of that. And a big thing that I do in practice with patients is try to get them back integrated with their people, or to some people, right? Because you guys are gonna get me going, but there's a Irvin Yalom, psychiatrist, group therapy guru, right? He talks about universality. The principle of universality is when we can see our experience mirrored in another, it's healing. You know that the pain shared is pain lessened, right? Like being able to say to a friend, oh my gosh, I'm feeling like shit. Like, and have them say, I've felt that way too. That is like, that in and of itself it takes some of the weight off, right? So that's what I'm thinking about when I think about this stuff.
It just made me want to ask a question. If anybody in this room or you has heard of a way that people are really democratizing sauna, because most of the time you have to pay. And
Yeah.
I'm really hearing like that. I mean, that's a barrier for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I'm curious genuinely if anyone has seen that done really well and how.
They do it at community sauna baths in the UK. So they have kind of like a nonprofit model, and my gosh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know like the ins and outs of how they structure it, but there was some kind of donation thing happening. So like maybe, I think it was like members could like donate a little extra to cover the sessions for other people. Shout out to Superior. I know that they've shown up in a lot of big ways and moments in our community when people needed to kind of come together. I know that Embrace North does a lot of stuff, donates sessions and stuff like that to a high school that I'm on the board of. So there are people like showing up and doing this stuff, and like we don't need to like go to insurance, but in a big way. And like, you know, if we're thinking like 20 years from now, you know, then that would be kind of the direction, right? So people are doing it. Yeah, totally. Yeah. All right. Who's hungry? Me. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sauna Talk podcast. For even more content and discussion of all things sauna, visit saunatimes.com. That's where you'll find articles, resources, and the stories that keep the sauna culture moving forward. You can also connect with me, Glenn Auerbach, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Substack. If you're interested in live events, workshops, or local and regional sauna circuits, you'll find those details on the website as well. Finally, if you represent a brand aligned with authentic sauna culture and would like to explore partnership or sponsorship opportunities, I'd love to connect. Reach out through saunatimes.com and let's start the conversation. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, I'll see you on the bench.